You got some problems that you wanna solve? Then let's chat. That job getting on your nerves? Then let's chat. Girl, you know I can relate, so let's chat. Cause I'ma tell you what the bottom line is.
I'ma tell you what the bottom line is. I'ma tell you what the bottom line is. I'ma tell you what the bottom.
It's your girl Cece. I'm your hostess with the mostest.
I'ma tell you what the bottom line is.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Bottom Line Is. It's your girl Cece, hostess with the mostest, and I have a special guest, another podcaster.
Yes.
She is here live in the studio joining me, and her name is Amber, the adulting queen. So I'm going to let her go ahead and give you more details. Because I know you're like, adulting queen? What is that about?
You see the sweatshirt and everything, so you're like, I need to know what is happening here.
So tell them, girl.
So yes, I'm Amber, creator of the Adulting Queen. I started the Adulting Queen in 2019 because nobody teaches you how to be an adult, and
Facts.
Adulting is ghetto.
It is.
But I started it mainly because my background is in education and working with high school students and college students, helping them just navigate all things about stuff that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So when they would keep coming to me, and then my friends and family always were asking me about brunch places and travel places, I was like, I need to put this somewhere so that other people can see it. And now over the past 6 years, it's just grown into the podcast, Sippin Sunday, merch. I do speaking engagements. I'm writing a book. So that is the quickest synopsis of it. And also that I don't believe that everybody should do all the same things in adulting. I don't believe that everybody should always have it all figured out, because breaking news, you're never going to have it all figured out. Like ever. Even when you feel like you are, I feel like as you age, and I mean, the conversation we'll get into is why everybody will never have it figured out, but there are things you can do to make things easier for yourself.
For sure, I know. And I think that all of us are guilty of saying when we were a child, and I think I told you this, oh, I can't wait to grow up. Oh, I can do what I want. You know, everybody says that when their parents got on their nerves. And usually about age 21, 22, you're like, oh yeah, this is ghetto. I want to go back to like where I live with my parents and they pay for everything. Yeah,
for sure. I feel like even my students now in high school are saying it, and I kind of feel bad because I don't think in high school I felt like adulting is a lot. So I really feel bad that you're like 16 being like, oh, this sucks already, because that is a hard thing to continue getting older and get out of that mindset if you already feel that way.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's just, no. I need to go back and say that to my younger self. Like, so if you could go back in time, which we all wish we could, Lord knows, what would you tell your younger self about adulthood?
Oh, okay. That's a great question, because as I mentioned, I'm writing the book, and the book is basically being written to my younger self, and I pinpointed like specific times. So 15 years ago was when I graduated high school. 10 years ago was when I graduated with my master's degree, moved to Miami, and then 5 years ago is when I moved to Baltimore. So I felt like all of those times had the same themes, even though I was older, different things happening, but they all had the same themes. So I've been reflecting a lot to really go back to those times to put it into the book. And I think that I would really just tell myself that you're going to be where you're supposed to be, and don't try to like, I would say sweat the small stuff, because I'm a very go with the flow, laid back kind of person, and I take risks easily. I feel like doing that it's scary, but the scariness isn't holding me back from doing it.
No, I got you.
So I feel like the main thing I would tell myself with knowing who I am now is like, you're going to be where you're supposed to be. Things are always going to work out. But I would say something to think about earlier on is kind of like starting sooner. But in a way, I don't wish I did that, because I wouldn't be where I was now. So it's like a weird revolving thing of like, okay, I feel like I would tell myself to start sooner. You're going to be where you need to be. But if you started sooner, you wouldn't have had the journey.
So it's like trust the process, essentially.
Yeah. And it's like, sometimes I don't feel like I didn't trust the process. Like, there's only like two things that really pop into my head that I'm like, oh, like this is the time when I was like, what the heck is going on? For real. But I guess it would be trust the process, because thinking back to graduating high school, I wanted to be a social worker, guidance counselor, And that's kind of what the work is I'm doing, but not in that traditional way. So I guess I just at 18 wouldn't have saw like my career, my life going to where it is now. Not that I didn't think I was going to do things and be successful, but this just isn't what I thought I was going to be doing.
Yeah, it's like you're making your own lane.
Yes, exactly.
Which, I mean, that's how all of us got started. You got to make the lane. You can't, you know, follow the path or, you know, follow what everybody else is doing. Make your own mark in society. So
exactly,
that way somebody else can look up to you and do
exactly. And it's kind of like thinking back to, I guess maybe nobody saw like creators and what we're doing now, like podcasting. Like I don't remember the first podcast I heard of or saw, but I know as a teen, like I don't feel like I recognized creators or people who were making their own things. Like it felt like there were all these like big name celebrities doing all these things.
Yeah, that's what we looked up to, and you know, it was like, oh well, they're doing it, we should do it. Now this market has now opened up, and we're like, oh, they did that, then I know I can do that. You know, type of situation. So
and I would say that I probably didn't until recently start thinking like, oh, like I see somebody doing that, so I can do it. Because I started the Adults and Queen just for fun, like a blog, just like putting things that I already was doing out into the world. So I don't even think that when I started this, I thought like, oh, this is going to become like way bigger than I ever could have imagined.
No, for sure. And that's the goal and that's the hope, you know, touching people's lives and just kind of bringing reality to them essentially. So no, that's cool. That's what it's all about. So what would you say to like, so adulthood? And I think I also told you that commercial, that progressive commercial where they're like teach you not to be like your parents. I equate that. I equate that to this whole situation. I don't know why, but when I like first came in contact with you, I thought of that because we need a class like that. We really do, because they don't teach that in college.
They teach. I'm an educator. I love education. I think it's valuable. They don't teach you anything you actually need to become a healthy, social, emotional human being at all. Unless you go like the psychology route, but if you want to be like an accountant, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, like that path to me is like very straightforward. Like you're going to learn what you need to learn to be good at this career, but you're not going to learn how to pay bills on time, how to take care of your parents when they're getting older, how to deal with a friend passing away, how to deal with a friend getting a divorce, getting married, friends having babies, you just getting older and moving. Like there's so many things that, I mean, I guess you wouldn't think about them either until you get there, but we know that there have been people that have been in that space before that could lend advice or have like talked about it. You should
start a college course.
Well, I do speak in colleges because that's where my background started, working in higher education outside the classroom in colleges. So that's where most of my speaking engagement started is with colleges. So book me, go to the link to the website.
I'm saying Adulting 101. 102, 103.
The most popular speaking engagements I do are Keys to Adulting, which is kind of like an Adulting 101, finding your purpose, goal setting, budgeting, navigating imposter syndrome, professionalism. So all the things.
Yeah, kind of like a lot of the episodes too that we do, you know, do here too. So it's just reinforcing it. Because like I said, I think that when people actually, you know, see you doing it, they have more of a investment into what you're saying, which is good because people just listen, but they're like, I'm still gonna do my own thing.
And I also always start like my speaking engagements with saying that take this information where you're at and then know that later down the line you might tap back into this. So like talking to an 18-year-old about budgeting, they're probably like, I'm not making money, or if I am, like I'm making money to go out with my friends or buy clothes or buy things I want. And I'm like, yes, but you still need a sense of tracking your money, knowing what you're paying for. How do you make sure you're not spending more than you're making? And you will need these skills as you continue to progress as an adult, making more money, getting a full-time job, getting a salary job, all those things.
Yeah, I had an episode on financial wellness, and that's one thing we were talking about too. She was like, if I could go back and tell myself in the 20s about my credit cards and how to do it, I wouldn't be spending so much time now. Well, I mean, she's already gotten her debt cleared, but you know, having to work on that and rebuild, because you know, people in their teens and 20s, they don't know anything about credit. So it's like a whole myth out there of what adulting really is compared again to the reality of it all, because of, I would say, reality TV too probably has a lot to do with it too.
There was actually a meme I just saw. It was like the biggest lie told on TV is that my friends are gonna come over for breakfast before work, because like on Friends and like I think about Cheers and like the Cosby Show, like all the kids are coming to the house before breakfast for school. They have a full spread of breakfast.
Nobody got time for that.
No, we're not doing that.
what the girls? Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody's coming to your house. If somebody was ringing my doorbell at 7:00 because they're coming over here to have breakfast, I would be like, "You're at the wrong house."
Yeah, like talking through the ring doorbell. Yeah. What you want? Why you here? Oh,
I probably wouldn't even answer. I would just be like, "Well."
That is very true. So. Okay, so we talked about becoming an adult and, you know, what we would tell our youngest self. What else would you say is the biggest misconception? I know we've highlighted a few, but what else would you say is the biggest misconception about adulthood?
That you don't have control of your time. And in the way of like, yes, we spend most of our time at work. Like that is the reality. In a 7-day week, we're at work 5 days a week. And you get 2 days to relax, but you're really just doing chores, doing errands. You have something to do already scheduled. So yes, you spend most of your time at work, but I feel like you have to figure out your best routines and schedules that are going to allow you to still do things for yourself. Because if you quickly get into like, I'm at work 9 to 5, I'm commuting home, I got to make dinner, I'm going to bed, wake up and do it again. One day you're gonna wake up and be like, "What am I doing with my life?" Like I don't feel going on
autopilot for so long.
Yes, or you're gonna feel like I don't have any joy. And you could have joy at your job. Like, don't get me wrong, because I do. I like my job, but I don't center my life around my job. So you have to try to find jobs too that are flexible in that way. But if you don't have a flexible job, like I think about my friend that's an eye doctor, like that's not necessarily flexible. You have to be there every day, 9 to 5, whatever it is. But figuring out how you can take your lunch, how do you make sure you're scheduling your doctor's appointments regularly?
Basically prioritizing yourself too, while doing the things that you have to do, of course, to live and, you know, compensate your lifestyle.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Because that is the truth.
You need to plan, like use your PTO. And these things sound so simple and everybody says it, but everybody doesn't do them. So those are, I feel like, the things
I've had many conversations. My last job, so I do HR. So I had one of the managers tell me, "Hey, can you talk to my employee? They haven't taken any time off in a year." Like
that's
they had
a problem.
Procedure and they were back working from home. I'm like, under anesthesia?
People really do. Like people will be in the hospital. Like my supervisor, his wife had a baby and he's like working. And I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Like you have to have that time to rejuvenate and I like love that time because my mind has to shut down. Otherwise, I'm going to crash. I can't function. And if I think that I can, I'm lying to myself. Clearly.
And I think that like that comes with, again, you knowing yourself, which I think is a huge, it's a big misconception as well, that people don't take the time to know themselves, or they believe that they know themselves, but we're always changing, and your mind changing is okay, but it's hard to evolve to different versions of yourself when you're so used to like yourself being how you were. But like what was going on at 20 is not going to be what goes on at 30, at 40, and that goes into friendships still, and like how other people perceive you in your career. So I think that when you know yourself and you know like when you're going to get to the burnout at work, you can prevent it. Like we need to be proactive in how you manage things so that you're not burnt out, because then you do get sick, then you're not able to show up, and then things get even more behind then. Because
when you become an adult, that healthcare, that becomes real too. And if you, like you said, burnout, you know, overwhelming yourself can lead to health issues. It's a whole domino effect if you really don't essentially take care of yourself, and people don't realize that because they don't have mommy and daddy to tell them what to do. Even though I still find myself at 38 still calling my mom.
No, I call and talk to her and still ask them a lot of questions.
I was like, I was just looking at somebody had a video on that, and you know, I think a lot of people, I think that's a misconception too. They think, oh, well, when I become an adult, I'm gonna be so independent. I don't have to ask anybody for anything.
You still need people.
Yeah, you still need a support team. You know, your friends that you can kind of just vent to, and you know, your parents, because essentially I don't want to make the same mistakes that my parents, you know, made. I want to learn from them so I can become better, or whatever the case is. So no, I do think that's also, for sure, a misconception. Okay, well, relationships. So we talk a lot about relationships on this podcast and dating. And I was just telling you before I hit record, dating is ghetto.
That's what all other people
I
are
made sure I
saying.
made that eye contact. It's
You're like,
ghetto.
they need to know.
It's a no in 2025, 2024, 2023. And we can keep on rolling it back ever since dating apps started.
Yeah.
You know? It's just not, and I'm saying it's not what it used to be, as if I had dated like in the 90s or something. But I just
Or
feel
like,
like
you're so old that you're like, just not what it was back in the day.
I just feel like, when my parents, were dating, and, my mom and my stepfather got married and everything, or other adults around me, it did not seem that hard, 6 months, you get proposed to, and, you meet people at the grocery market. We're just so, like, out of touch now as adults.
I think that, people on Threads and maybe it was TikTok I was seeing too, are meeting people at Trader Joe's, but it's so funny because they're like, oh, I saw them, but then like there was no follow-up, or they didn't see them again, or they forgot to get their number or something, and they become these long series of like, am I gonna see the person at Trader Joe's again? And I'm one of the people like, are you going to see them again? Like, I need to know what's happening. But I think like dating, so for me, I have not really, I don't say not traditionally dated. I feel like my relationships that I had that turned into like long-term relationships, it was kind of like we happened to meet, or we were in the same place or circle. So like first person dated obviously was in high school, like we went to school together. Then next person in college, we went to college together, that's how we met. And the next person, we also went to college together, but we met at like an event that was but it was a party. Why am I saying it was an event?
Social environment.
I mean, it was an event, but it was a party, like a homecoming party or something. And then the next person was that I knew of them from meeting them at, this was an event, a professional event, not a party.
She had to make sure
this one actually was a professional event. But then like years later, we ran back into each other and started talking. So the people I've been in relationships with, it was like we were already in the same circles. I have felt that now it is harder to meet people. And when you meet people, my experience has been most of them are either in a relationship, married, or they're gay or bisexual or something like that, where they're dating somebody of the same sex, which that's no issue to me. But I feel like that's just the common things that I'm finding about people when I'm out. Or it's like what you're saying of people being out of touch. They're just not talking to people when they're out. Like everybody's in their phone.
We're missing that social cue because of now how we have technology, and we're hiding. We have a mask up. It's like we're going to a masquerade party or something. And, then that leads to the frustration of being catfished.
Or I've never been catfished, thankfully.
I
love to show
like
catfish, but I have not been catfished.
That you have to follow my TikTok for those stories. But
so see, you're one of the people that I be following, looking to see what's going on with their stories.
I wish I had a story like Tisa Risa so I could become a millionaire. But
I don't want to say I don't believe her. I do believe her, but I just think like stuff like that seems really crazy of how like it blew up. But I guess it really just goes back to like her telling her story, and people were invested in it. And it just went on and sparked and
speaking of her story too, I think that brings up a good point. When you get in a relationship, as opposed to when you're not an adult, you get to really know the person, and then you start seeing like psychological issues come up and all these other things, and you're like, wait, hold up, did I sign up for this? I don't think I signed up for this. Who told me that?
It's so hard because like I know like things happen for people how they're supposed to happen, because I do believe like your story's already written before you were here. It's like up to you to make certain decisions that are going to get you to it or prevent you from getting it when you could have. And then just depending on if you believe in God or like what you believe on, like I do think people already have a story written before you're here. But with like seeing people on social media, like one couple that popped to my head is Jayla and Tony Henry. The Henrys on TikTok. I love them. But they met and like got engaged and married and had a baby like really quickly. So I'm sure that when people first saw that, they were like, this is weird, like what's going on? But if you're seeing them now and you never knew their backstory, you're like, oh, this is a great couple together. Like they have a family, they're married, they're building a house, like they have it all kind of thing, but you don't know how they started. And I think that we judge a lot of people based on how people start out their relationship from the outside looking in. But those two people have a connection, or they have talked, or they figured out like what's going to work for them. And I don't think everybody has to be privy to the ins and outs of somebody's relationship. There are some things that are like blatant, like that shouldn't be something you stand for, or that shouldn't be something that is going to produce a healthy relationship.
True.
But people getting engaged in 6 months, or people doing Married at First Sight, which I love watching that show.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that show. Yeah.
People kind of like are like, I would never do that. This isn't what I would want my relationship to be like. But this is not your relationship, like what you're watching. Yeah. So I think that in a way we have to get back to like some type of like secrecy, or like
being modest or something in how we carry ourselves and carry out situations in our lives.
Because I feel like my perspective of a relationship is that if I'm in a relationship with somebody now, like being older too, and just like reflecting and like understanding certain things more. One, I don't even talk about relationships often, and I'm proud of myself for here even like having the conversation, not because I don't want to talk to you about it, but I just don't talk about relationships really at all. But I feel like for me that I would not be talking to my friends now about like problems I'm having in relationships with the person that I'm with. If you're dating somebody or dating multiple people, that's different. But if I'm in like a relationship, like I think that me and this person are gonna like move forward or something, I really wouldn't be talking to my friends about the ins and outs of like the issue. What I would do though is go to like maybe one of my friends that's married, or somebody that I feel like
that's a good point.
Has, I would say experience, because everybody has experience, but I would go to somebody that's married, or somebody that I have seen their relationship, and to me seems like they're okay to be like, hey, like, what's your opinion on this? And I have done that in my last relationship. Like, one of my friends, I would call and be like, this is what happened. Like, what's your perspective? Because this is what I think, but like, I could be wrong, because I have been just somebody that's single for so long and used to myself and my ways and things like that.
That's just like, if you're a parent, you wouldn't, run an idea or a situation through somebody that doesn't have kids, because they're not going to fully understand.
No kid stuff, because I have no kids. Like,
don't me either. Yeah, no, but that makes sense. So it's, that's a good thing.
And I think that's like a reflection I've had as getting older and seeing other people in relationships of like, what works well. And like, I think about my married friends, like, even if I'm asking like, oh, what's going on with your partner or your husband or wife, or how are things, they're like, oh yeah, everything's good. Like, they don't really complain or bring any issues, and I feel like that is how it should be. Maybe they are talking to other people about it, but from my experience, most of them haven't. So
no, that's cool. Okay, so let's talk about the fun stuff of adulting. First of all, before I even get into that, when I said that line, I thought of like the adulting, like how you have like the bounce houses.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why it would make me think of like the bouncy places for the adults.
We need like an adult field day, which I would love to plan like an adult field day thing. I have so many ideas. I'm only one person, but
no, for sure we can collab, because I think that is a good idea, because a place like, I know they have like now the rage rooms and things like that. Us as adults, because kids have these places that they can let out all this energy and potential frustrations, whatever the case is. But there's not really too many places for adults, actually.
No.
So, don't take our idea.
But even on social media, people are like that. They want like a adults only water park, or like an adults only theme park. I mean, most of the time, I feel like at theme parks like Six Flags, you do see kids, but I haven't felt like kids are annoying at Six Flags. At a water park, they're annoying.
Yeah, because they have their own section, I guess. Yeah, the kids, and so I can see that. But that would be
we need adult only fun things that aren't bars or brunch. Like I love brunch.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, I do love a good happy hour, but I mean,
me too.
Play on that. That's my guilty past.
My podcast is called Sippin Sunday. It's not all about drinking, but that is like kind of how it started. But then also restarting your week and all that stuff, self-care.
No, for sure. And when I started this podcast, I had my wine glasses up, but as I was doing recordings, I was like, dang, I'm on antibiotics. I can't drink. So I have yet to get back to having my glasses out here and drinking. I'm like, gotta get back to that.
You will.
So, is there a go-to hack to make adulting easier? And this could be a trick question.
I think knowing yourself and I say that because of the point I said before that, like, I think if you know yourself and you understand yourself, you can better organize yourself. You can work more efficiently. You can figure out, again, your routines. Like, I know the days of the week, Sunday is a day where it's kind of like, do what I want, flowing, whatever happens, kind of happens. Monday, I'm most productive. Friday, I'm also really productive. Today, Thursday, don't ask much of me that needs like brain power. Like Thursday, I just can't really get much out. I will.
Well, you are getting it out, girl.
Well, as I said, this doesn't require brain power though.
I know,
like, work stuff, I'll be like, I can't talk to me tomorrow because I can't do any of this. And then just like knowing like your best time of the day to work and like how do you like to eat, which sounds so like again basic, but if you are making things at home that you don't want to eat, you're not going to eat it, and you're just wasting your food.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And
so
knowing like
there that need it. So.
And knowing like when your busy days are, so that you can prepare and plan ahead. So I think like knowing yourself is a hack, and asking for help. Honestly, like you mentioned it before too, but we are so individualized and we're so on our phones and we're so like me, like, oh no, I can do this on my own. Like nobody's going to help me or nobody wants to help me. And I just don't really feel like that's the case. And if you ask people for help or just share your story, I think that helps you through adulting because you realize you're not alone. You realize that somebody is willing to help you. You just haven't said anything or you weren't clear on what you're experiencing so that somebody could kind of jump in and help you.
No, for sure. Now, have you watched the show Harlem?
Yes, I love that. Yes.
So, as I was listening to you, I thought of Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
And was it the last season? I don't know if it was the last. Yeah, I guess it was this most recent season that just ended. But, she had gotten back with a guy she was involved with. And hopefully this isn't any spoiler.
He's been over, forever now.
So sorry if it is. But, but she gotten back with him. I can't remember his name. But then, he was ready to continue to move forward, be exclusive. And, she just turned him down. She was just like, I have to go back and, learn to love me. And I know that's a cliche statement of learning to love yourself before you can essentially love others. But I think that's also a part of, adulthood, because like you said, if you don't know yourself, then what do you hope to accomplish and, do in this life to navigate it? But if you don't love yourself, then you're not giving yourself grace it's okay to make mistakes. I mean, that's a part of growing up and learning. Exactly. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I agree with that. And I think that it goes back to us as kids. And then just when you're becoming a real adult in the world at 18, that if you really think about it, from 18 before, you weren't really allowed to make decisions for yourself.
Right.
It was somebody telling you what to do, or when they ask you. I think that working with the youth, I feel like a lot of adults just like impose their opinions on people. And that makes a child or a teen feel like, oh, like this person that I love or trust is telling me to do this. But in my head, like, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to do what they're saying because that's what they're saying. And I find that in like all my students that are like, well, I only went to be a doctor because my mom told me to be a doctor. Right. I only went to do music because my dad was a musician. I don't actually really want to do it. So the question that I asked them is like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, let's put your family aside, your friends, anybody that has given you opinions, like, what do you actually want to do? And I think that translates to your question of like, how do you get to know yourself or understand making decisions for yourself and like loving yourself if you've always listened to like all the people talking to you,
all of the noise around you.
Exactly. So I think that's why it's hard for people when they have opportunities to make their own decisions or talk about themselves, that it's hard because people don't want to make it seem like their life is bad or they're bragging or anything like that. And going through the book journey with Lovey J. Jones, a lot of what she says is like, your story is your story and you're not bragging or you're not trying to showboat or something by talking about what you're going through or talking about what you're doing or asking for help and trying to do things to continue to learn and understand yourself. That's not you bragging, and that's you true. Sharing that is helping somebody else do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like we all should be comfortable, with that. I know sometimes I feel, self-conscious about saying that in certain groups, but you're right. It's your story and you work darn hard to get through to make that story, exactly. So nobody knows all the trials and tribulations and things like that. Now, when I think of benefits of adulting or being an adult, I think of freedom. right?
Yes.
Maybe not right now, but that's a whole nother podcast.
You're doing great.
Right. But freedom, yes, to make the choices that you want to make, to have, control over your decisions and things like that. But, still, again, all the things that we talked about, the hacks and all that. But, the freedom to make your story what it needs to be. As you said, yes, the story's already been written, but it's up to us to make sure that we carry it out the way that it's supposed to be, etc. But what else would you say is a benefit to being an adult or adulting?
I mean, I think that the freedom to make your own choices, I agree with that one. And I just think the benefit of being an adult is that you get to do things that bring you back to yourself as a child.
It's like a full circle moment.
Yes. And I think that's a benefit because if you're able to do that, you will continue to hopefully be like lighthearted and see the glass half full and see that you don't have to lose your creativity or your childlike mindset just because you're older. And I think that's a benefit of being an adult because when I just see people like, again, stuck in the rut or the rat race and the hamster wheel, like, those people that like you're in the grocery store and they bump into you bump into them by accident and then they're going off on you.
Yeah.
Something is not going well with them because of that to be their reaction. So something people ask me is like, how am I always just like pretty cool, calm, and collective? And I was like, because it's never a big deal. And most of the time it's not about me, like how somebody is reacting or interaction, like whatever they said or whatever was going on is not usually about you, especially in like group settings or if the example I use. So I think that's a cool thing about being an adult. And honestly, I mean, in my head I'm thinking like having adult money, but I was just doing my spreadsheet today and having adult money, I feel like I don't have any money.
Mathing all the time.
Exactly.
Well, most of the time, but yeah.
Exactly. Like that's why I'm like, okay, having adult money popped into my head, but like I honestly feel like I was able to do more when I was in college, making like $300 a month.
Yeah, but that money went a lot further too, and it could be the times that we're in. I don't know, but. Yeah, that money did go further.
But I also feel like, I mean, looking at it again, glass half full, that I'm happy that I have money to pay for my house, to pay for my car, all that stuff. But something's got to give because it's just crazy.
I know. It's like the seesaw sometimes of life. It's just like, all right, am I going to go up today? Oh, no, I'm going down slowly. All right.
So I guess I would say adult money, though, because you get to make choices about how you're using it.
Yeah.
Like you said, that making decisions for yourself and freedom. And then just like, a benefit and a good thing is being in your childlike self and like tapping into that because hobbies are becoming super popular. I feel like for people to find them, like everybody's doing pickleball. I'm not gonna get into that.
I know that, like, I don't even know where that came from. My dentist was telling me, oh, that's a great way to meet people.
No,
like,
people are doing pickleball. People are also a lot of my friends have been going snowboarding, and I'm like, what? Like,
so when did this happen? Like,
so I think stuff like that. What was the other one? It will come back to me, but there was something else that like everybody was getting into, and it didn't fizzle out, but like it's not the mainstream. We moved to pickleball now.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one thing too, before we close, I wanted to talk about we kind of touched on it, but friendships as an adult. I feel like at every stage of life that you go in, you have a friend. Like whether it's at a job, you go to another job, then you get another friend. When you go to college, you get a friend, and, if you are a part of any type of organization, you develop friends, as opposed to, I feel like when I was a teenager, I feel like everybody was my best friend, just like, hey, I'm here, I just got along. I mean, I still do get along with everybody, right? I'm just that type of person, but I do feel, I have a friend for every situation or scenario, whether it be good or bad, you know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts in regards to friendships?
I agree with that. I realize that I'm in a unique scenario that I have friends from middle school still, which is not.
I know that's a rarity.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how rare it was until I would tell people, and they're like, "What? Like you are like actually like friends with them still?" I'm like, "Yeah, we talk like every day in our group chat, and now we're in the season of weddings, so like we have 3 weddings in a row, back to back, every year." And when I'm telling people, they're like, I can't understand, like, how you're friends with somebody from middle school. And I was like, for me now, I feel like it's because one, I never moved back home after I went to college. I went to college, grad school, moved to Miami, back to New York, and then now to Baltimore. So for me, I feel like it's a piece of home that I still have, for one, and people who knew me like as a teen. Like, there not many people can say that outside my family. So I think that that's kind of what keeps us bonded. But then the fact that we have been able to, as you mentioned earlier, like talk about things that have been going on, or kind of asking like, am I the only one experiencing this? Like, it can't just be me.
It's like you bonded over scenarios when you had friendships as adults.
Yeah. But I do feel like it's hard for people that have known you for that long to see you evolve. And I can kind of feel like that this friend group has. I mean, sometimes they're still just like, we don't understand necessarily what you're doing. But to me, that's fine, because I've gotten to the point where I realize like my friends and family might not be the target audience, or might not be the people that get it immediately. But once they see like what's happening, they'll jump on board. And then just as I've continued through life, I have met friends, exactly what you said, at different stages. But now I feel like I have gotten more of like, because I'm quick to call everybody friend, like, oh my God, hey friend, like, what's up, friend?
Me too.
Blah, blah, blah.
Me too.
And I do generally still mean that, of like, not that we're like best friends, but I mean that like I see you, or like I'm here, I'm sharing space with you, like I'm glad to be seeing you. And I feel that way just because people, you never know what they're going through. So it's like somebody could be ignoring them all day, and then they see you and you're just like, oh, hey friend, what's up? Like, how's it going?
It's hard as that world. Yeah.
But I do feel like I am trying to discern more of like what friendships are for what, especially just with like my growth of my business and the growth personally that I feel like I'm experiencing, because everybody can't go everywhere with you. But because my business and just me as a person is very community minded, and I want people to be a part, and I want people to be able to share, and I want people to feel included and feel like they have a community. That's the difficulty for me now, I would say, is figuring out that. But it's not hard for me to make friends at all. I mean, hence you. We're friends. We are friends now, because my friend, because my friend told you about my stuff. And that's another thing too. I think that making friends and meeting people is through other people as well, that are
the networking is a powerful thing as an adult,
and people that are your friends, that do support you and do care. Because literally we met because my friend was like, hey, my friend has a podcast, follow her. You followed me, you reached out. I wasn't even in the room, like, and that's how we met. I
know. And it's just when you create that space and that aura, like people want to talk about you in a positive way and share things about you. And that's a good benefit, I guess, of adulthood, is networking. You know, that's how we meet people now, you know, beyond our phones.
But it's crazy because now that you say that too, like asking earlier, it's like meeting friends is easy, but why is it like the dating part's hard when that's all you would have to do?
That is
exactly that. Like, just mention somebody's name in a room, or say like, oh, my friend this, my friend that.
Are people gatekeeping? I don't know.
I personally, like, when I think about my guy friends, most of them are married, honestly.
See, and I don't for me, I don't have a lot of guy friends in my circle, so I don't really have none to share. But I did just tell my friends, I said, I think it's called a leftovers party. Like, I see it on TV where they're
leftovers.
Like, is that what it's called? Like, you bring your exes and you bring like other single guys that you know, and then people they would have it on TV. Like,
I've never heard of that at all. Wow.
I don't know. I think that's what
I did see Bliss Social Club on Instagram. She was talking about like platonic friendships, because that's another heated debate, I feel like, on social media, if guys and girls can actually be friends. I think that you can, because I have guys that I'm friends with that nothing has ever happened. Like, we've never flirted. Like, there's never been anything like that. And if they thought it, like, it wasn't expressed, and vice versa. And I just think that, I mean, I wouldn't be hesitant in meeting a new guy friend now, but I would say that like now it kind of would be like, okay, no, what are we gonna do in this friendship? But it's different of like my friends from college, or people I met like maybe at
you
work.
had similar situations together that you can bond and talk about too.
And also just laughing that my sister, she's always like, what about this friend? Like, why did you never date them, or what happened? I'm like, no. And she's like, you have too many guy friends to not have like pursued them. She's like, maybe you're putting people in like the friend zone too quickly, or you're not like seeing them for like you could maybe be with them. And I was like, I don't know.
But I've had some females tell me that they don't like to have a lot of female friends. They prefer to have all guy friends because they're like, oh, less drama and this and that. I'm like, hey, I mean, that's cool.
I like a mix because I think it
That's
keeps
what I
a
think.
balance of conversations, and that's what Bliss Social Club.
Mhm.
Her name is Joy. Follow her. She's here in Baltimore, and she
Okay.
always is posting like events, like singles mixers, regular events, and just stuff for networking and hanging out. But I feel like that those conversations are needed, and we need to have friends of the opposite gender because we don't know what men are thinking.
Right,
And
and it gives you the other perspective, other experiences.
yes.
It's like, I feel like as an adult, you have to be open-minded because things can pop in your way just like that. And, you got to be able to roll with the punches, essentially. So,
and I do feel like sometimes women, and this is just from what I see on social media more so, get very like catty about like men are trash, we're done with this, we're done with that. And I don't say that, and I don't feel that way.
Right.
So I feel like that's the thing about like if you're friends with all women or you're always in women's spaces talking about men and talking about dating, that it can get to delusion almost. Like I know we joke around being like people are delusional, but like is that really the reality, or is that just like the people you're talking to or the people you're seeing or the experiences you're having? And then going back to how do you change something to have a different experience so that you don't feel that way?
No, for sure. Okay. Well, to close out, what would you leave people with? The adulting queen. What would you want to tell the people that they need to know as they navigate this journey?
One needs to buy the book when it comes out because I feel like that will just go deeper into like what we've talked about. And the goal of my book is to inspire people to have conversations with themselves and others to figure out how they can carve out their path in adulting. So yes, I know shameless plug, but that really is also, I feel like what is the next step for people that follow me and that are inspired by my work and want to learn more and know more is that.
Okay.
But I also would just say, like, sit with yourself and really evaluate where you've been and where you want to go and how can you get there. And that could be in all aspects: career, relationship, money. You want to move, you want to start a business, you want to have kids, like you want to buy a car. Like it could be as small or as big as you want it to be. But I think really sit with yourself, figure out where you've been, where you're going, what you want to do, and pull out the themes, because there will be a lot of themes in your life that keep showing up, good, bad, or indifferent. So like thinking about those to really focus on that strength so that you can like keep going. Right.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll say the bottom line is, being an adult. So if any kids are watching, although they're not in my target market, they might be watching, later on in the years, but it's okay to, want to be an adult and have those dreams and aspirations, but think about a plan and being able to navigate when change comes, for sure. And as Amber said, again, understanding what you want and what it takes to get there, because it's not going to just be given to you. And, as life goes on and things change, sometimes that circle might not be around you. You might have to adapt to new, people, new situations, whatever the case. But again, just take the time out. It's not a rat race. It's not something that you gotta like, oh, I gotta be an adult. Like right now, I gotta do this, all that kind of stuff, because you can blink and gosh, we'd be 80 years old. I don't, you know what I mean? It can happen so fast. So take the time to enjoy the things that you're doing, so you can remember it and have those memories and, pass the knowledge down to somebody else, whether it's a friendship or, the younger generation or whatever the case may be. Sharing is wealth. Okay.
Yes.
So now, Amber, if they want to know more about all the good things that you have going on, your podcast, your book, and everything, how should they reach you?
So all of my social media is The Adulting Queen on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. The website is theadultingqueen.com. The podcast, though, is called Sippin Sunday. So if you just find me, The Adulting Queen podcast will come up. And yeah, I think honestly that's it. The Adulting Queen on everything. Book coming out. I'm not sure when yet. We're in the process of writing the proposal and all those things, but the book is going to happen. And then Sippin Sunday live. I will have my podcast live again August 17th at Motor House in Baltimore. So
Awesome. She has a lot of things going on. So we're going to keep you all updated too. So we're going to make sure that she gets back on here and continues to let us know on the progress of everything, the book especially. So, and all of her handles will be listed down below. So make sure you connect with her and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on